let's talk about England. So a new era for England. England-Wales was the first game this week. We saw Southgate put out quite an experimental team. When you saw that starting lineup, what was your first thoughts? Levi, I'll come to you first.
First thoughts. You know what? I started getting almost reluctant to switch on and actually tune in properly and watch England. Very strange, average lineups that players are chosen on club merit,
Yep.
rather than actual performances. We can go back to the argument that England is a little bit monopolised because he picks from the big teams, but I was quite impressed with seeing the likes of Connor Cody
Yep.
Implemented in some of the squads. I like Jack Grealish got some game time, but it's about time that Gareth Southgate actually took a long, hard look at himself in the mirror and started picking players based on what they're doing on the pitch, based on what they are doing in terms of their form, and not just in what they've done in the past or what they can do potentially. It's about picking players who are in form, who hit the ground running, and who can make England look good. Some good passages of play with Wales, playing some high press football, which was quite impressive. I personally would like to see Connor Cody come into the lineup a lot more, ahead of the likes of Maguire, because he's a clown. Eric Dyer. I'm sorry, Greg. I'm sure you'd be the first to admit Eric Dyer isn't a centre back. And I don't really know where Eric Dyer plays. I don't really know how much use he actually is. But that being said, I'd much prefer Connor Cody back there. At least I know he can move. He can lead a team, and lead a team who, in actual fact, Wolves are achieving beyond what everyone's expectations was. And I'd much rather him at centre-back. Jack Grealish, because he's playing at Aston Villa, he gets a sniff. Second, playing Mason Mount, who sometimes performs, sometimes doesn't. Got very below average consistency, and I think that sums England up. England's consistency is shocking. At tournament level, in all honesty, consistency isn't there. Sometimes we perform, sometimes we don't. Let's put in the players. Let's change the script a little bit. Put in the players that are performing well at club level, have performed well throughout the whole season, and are not chosen based on merit, but chosen on their actual form. Jack Grealish should be in that team. He's been grinding at Aston Villa week in, week out, season in, season out. I think it's about time he got his big break. And I think players like Danny Ings definitely should be getting more of a sniff. That's exactly the reason why Jamie Vardy retired from England as well. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. He just plays second fiddle to Kane.
Yeah.
Is Harry Kane consistent enough? Yes. But is there time to also bring in some new blood when things are not necessarily working with England? I'd much rather see Danny Ings sprinting after the ball, giving 110%, rather than Harry Kane potentially just doing the same thing he does every single week.
Yeah, that's some fair points there. I mean, you mentioned players in form. Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had a pretty impressive. It was his debut. Am I right? His full international debut.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. Totally agree with Jack Grealish. He's won me over a lot. I was probably a doubter of his form for a long time. Having seen him obviously because he's obviously stayed with Villa the whole time after they went down, and then in the Championship I think he's improved as a player so much over the last 2 years. Since they got back into the Premier League, he's sort of hit another level, and I really did enjoy seeing him in the England team, and he just takes players on. He's looking for a pass that no one else is looking for. Just an exciting player, I think, to have in that team. I'd actually like to see Ross Barkley. If Barkley continues playing with him the way he did against Liverpool, I think we could see Barkley kind of making a big return to the England setup as well. By the time the next tournament rolls around. Other players that got in that team then, so we had Harry Winks and Calvin Phillips playing those sort of deep lying roles. Are you convinced by Calvin Phillips, the Yorkshire Pirlo? I'm
not convinced by Harry. I'm not convinced by Harry Winks. But yeah. I guess Winksy. Another story. I think I've got another a vendetta against Spurs players.
Yeah.
But no,
Phillips.
I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
I'm more interested to see what Greg has to say.
I'll be totally honest with you, lads. I don't watch England games. Do you ever watch The Real Hustle? You know that show, The Real Hustle? No, stick with me. Because instead of watching England games, I watch The Real Hustle. Because if I'm watching a con artist on my screen, I like to see him do his job properly. So instead of watching England and Gareth Southgate managing that team, I stick that on. The fraudulent. He would be out of a job if the Euros happened this year. I'm sick of it. I've got nothing to say. I can't comment on the games. I didn't watch them. I don't like watching England under him. Calvin Phillips, on that point, I think that he suffers a little bit from the Jesse Lingard disease, in that he's
itis.
Well, and he's like treated as this sort of young talent, and he's actually 26 next week or something.
Right.
I think my camera's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, you're gone.
It's Gareth Southgate shut me down
at some point.
Greg's.
But well, I mean, I'll go on while Greg sorts his camera out.
Greg's on what's it called? What's that? BT? What's the PlusNet broadband or whatever? The Yorkshire broadband. They cut him off. Now he's dissing Calvin Phillips. There you go. EOS utility webcam. Yeah. Levi, you were going to go.
I just think, in all honesty, even though England, we beat Belgium the other day, and that, yeah, in its own right, is a good thing. But do you really think if we put in a performance like what we did against Belgium, we'll go anywhere in the Euros? I think no.
No.
Do I think that Gareth Southgate infuses the team is enough of a motivator at club level? Like you have the sort of managers you have at club level that really push the teams, can really enact that change, can push teams to the next level. Does Gareth Southgate have that about him? No. And I think we're seeing his lack of ambition in his management in terms of the selections that he's making. Very mediocre selections, very weak management choices. It's about time somebody actually came into the England team and said, you know what, I'm going to be versatile. I'm going to actually change what has gone before me. And I think when we actually change what has happened before, we'll actually get different outcomes. Gareth Southgate's coming in and doing pretty much exactly the same thing that every manager before him has done, and he's expecting different results. And the reason why England's national team is known as one of the greatest national teams in the world, but will never progress so long as we make the squad selections that we do, make the team selections that we do in terms of starting lineup, and really just fail to progress every single year. We need to change, and it needs to be changed as soon as possible.
Yeah. I'm just laughing at John Aldinho. He said I missed the dress code again because it's white t-shirt week, clearly, but I'm not on that. All right, Greg, can you hear us still?
Yeah, bro, I'm still here. My camera ran out of battery and it's just not playing ball. Do you know what I mean? I'm fuming about it.
So should we just have you? We'll just have you on this. It's all good. You could switch to your your laptop webcam, but obviously
we're done out here, bro. Don't worry about it. I got this. You
cool.
guys keep going. I'm listening.
No, it's all good.
Hey, here we go.
He's back. He's back. Right. So, well,
aren't you glad to be back, Levi?
Sticking on the subject of England and Conor Cody, as you already mentioned, I would like to see Cody kind of dropped into a 4-4-2 just to see how he gets on, because obviously he's sort of sweeper, isn't he? Or he plays in that anchor role in the five at the back for Wolves, and so far in his England appearances, Southgate has kind of built the team around that. I think you're going to have a battery problem there, Greg. So we'll bear with you on this screen is fine. Yeah, I would like to see whether he can play maybe in a four at the back. Just to test him kind of as a player. But, otherwise, maybe if this five at the back works well, why not take that into a tournament? But it does limit us going forward, I would think.
Very, very, very treacherous ground, I think. I think an England team trying to experiment with a three at the back or a five at the back with wing backs that are bombing up and down. If we go to a major tournament and play that formation, we're going to get found out.
We will.
I don't care what anyone says. No one's going to convince me otherwise. We're going to get found out, and we'll be a laughing stock, and we'll crash out in the group stages, and it'll be about time to get another mediocre manager in. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Mark Hughes in at some stage, or like just someone ridiculous like that to try and take us to the next level. Even though Mark Hughes should have been out of a job a very, very long time ago and should have been reskilling. That's someone that should go in the Gulf UK, getting reskilled as another manager. Yeah, we'll reskill him as a PE teacher.
I saw. Did you see any of the other actual results in the international break? I think France and Portugal drew 0-0 last night. But you would expect those are probably the two, biggest challenges really for from the European side of things. I also saw the Brazil-Bolivia highlights. I know it's only Bolivia, but Brazil looked very, very good as well.
In all honesty, if England came up against Belgium again, obviously that's Belgium, France. I think if England even came up against Norway, they would struggle. Norway are starting to put together quite a decent team. Yeah, and I'm not even sure if any of our defenders would be able to deal with Haaland in his goal scoring form. We'd struggle there. I genuinely think the whole country is going to do exactly what it does every single year. Quietly, we're going to say, we don't have very much expectation, but quietly, the whole nation is going to be hoping that we actually do well, just to be disappointed yet again, and just for another England manager to come in, because Gareth Southgate probably won't be in the job if England crash out in the group stages.
I just remembered my point that I was going to make. It's been flying about on Twitter today that Bielsa should be the next England manager, which would be absolutely crazy. He's got obviously experience at international level, but that man is mental, and he's doing such a great job actually at the moment. Anyway, with Leeds, so I don't know why he would take on that England job at this point. So we got Greg back.
The FA wouldn't want him because he's not a yes man.